Just waiting for it to initialising. I believe it's gone live. I think we're live now. Charles Earnest Spencer's here. I'm just going to bring Charles in. I've just invited Charles in. Charles has muted himself. Good evening, Charles. Thank you very much. Good evening, Rob.
No problem.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really, at last moment, I tried that number you gave me, but I had all sorts of problems trying to get through. So I'll have to sort that out with you sometime. It didn't recognise was it the 08 or plus whatever 8? It was about 12 digits, so I can't remember anyway.
Yeah, no, what it is, you have to do +38, which is Ukraine code, and then it's the number.
So is the number longer normally over there?
Yeah, well, that's my number. Well,
normally the UK, it's 11 digits, isn't it?
Yeah. So same, the same digits or whatever, you know what I mean?
Is it? Right.
But
I thought there were 12 numbers in it, so I was trying to think, hang on, is it me or is it whatever? I was trying to work it out.
Well, what it is, I probably need to put credit tomorrow on, you know what I mean? Credit on it, so I don't know.
Well, thank you for joining me tonight. Well, let me just say to the guys out there that me and you have known each other quite a few years now. We met through campaigning and things like that, and I think actually we go back quite a few years to the Melanie Shaw rallies. So we have actually been on circuit quite a long time, and we've been in courts together. I think we've probably been in about 4 or 5 different courts. I think twice in Liverpool. I think we went to. We've been to London and a few other courts that we've actually been in. And the courts do not like Mackenzie Friends full stop. They like the acts and statutes. They like to bestow being the captain of the ship and bestowing sort of maritime law on everybody, as we know, rather than our inalienable rights, which don't even get a look in. So good evening to Annette and Spears in the chat as well. So if there's any questions that anybody wants to ask you, Charles, please, guys in the chat, ask Charles anything you like. But your background, Charles, is a military man. You was in the Navy for quite a few years. You've been on all sorts of. I don't know if you mainly served on frigates or if you was on other naval ships as well as. I don't know if you was on Ark Crawler or anything like that, or if it was predominantly. A classification of what type of ship that you actually dealt with, a weapon ship or whatever. Not without going too much into your military background in that sense. But what I'm saying is that you did that. You sailed right across the world. And I don't know. I've got another Arthur.
Yeah,
it's like my cat.
Yeah, I know.
And you've got you I don't know how many times you've been around the world. You must have been around the world a few times.
Twice. 1 year trip.
And that is phenomenal in itself, because you've obviously been at most ports that you've probably been in and most places that you've been. Hi, Sophie. Sophie's joined us as well. So thank you to everybody in there. Charles, Spear, everybody's in the chat. Thank you, guys. I'll get into chat in case anybody's left any questions there. But as I say, we've known each other from the Melanie Shaw days. And I thought it'd be nice, actually, for me to bring you on as my guest. As known you for quite some time. And people probably don't realise how long we've actually known each other, that we've been on the circuit for quite a few years together. And we've been out there campaigning vigorously, and we try to help other people. You have done it especially more so than me, because your knowledge and your common. What got you actually into it, Charles? Was it your military background and the disciplinarian type of whole atmosphere that you was kind of like... known to be surrounded by all the time? Was it the kind of like that stance that brought you into sort of learning law and so on and so forth?
Well, basically, I ended up as a petty officer in the Royal Navy, and basically, we have to know the law, or certain parts of it, if you know what I mean, to make an arrest and all this lot, defend people in a court of law and all this lot, if you know what I mean. So that's why when these judges, like up in Liverpool, was trying to say, Mackenzie friend, I don't want to know, but basically you can't really do it because sort of thing. I think I actually mentioned it in Angie's case, in one of the documents that, I'm allowed to represent people on all this.
And I've actually seen you on in a court where we thought it was going to be an uphill battle, and because you watch these guys, and one guy actually came round to your way of thinking, and I actually think he thanked you. Was that the Angie case, or was it?
Yeah. Well, the first Angie case up in Liverpool, he didn't want to know us, wouldn't even talk to us, look at us, sort of thing, or anything, you know what I mean, sort of thing. And in the end, he ran out the court and that, and I said, right, he's deserted the ship, lost the ship, deserted the ship, this and other. We're in charge of the court, case dismissed, and we walked out. But then she got arrested that night, and we ended up again into court. But we put a lot of what you call lawful proceedings in law, case laws in, which they can't fight, really. Well, they can do it, but then you've got them, you know what I mean, sort of thing. But when we went, you saw it, you know what I mean, he was allowed me to represent it or speak and all this lot, you know what I mean. We was both polite to each other and that.
It was actually, I even says, the gesture that you made to him is a mutual respect that, regardless to whatever kind of like cloud cuckoo landing guys are in, because when we go before magistrates, and most magistrates are more becoming like more debt collectors than judges, because it's easier to find somebody for a misinterpretation of the law, let's put it that way, right? Yeah. Or a clerical error, let's put it another way. It's just the way they deem it, or the way they say it, or the way they portray it, that it is, and it is a huge form of revenue collection for this country, the court system itself. I don't need to tell you about that. And I know you've actually fought, because in your pension case, I think you've been fighting your case for quite some time. And I wouldn't give a guess to how many politicians you probably went to, MPs, prime ministers, Ministry of Defence officials, even the courts and judges. I've lost track, because there was one stage where, I mean, your case file was huge.
Exactly, always sort of thing. But well, in actual fact, I sent some more today and all this lot about my Navy case and all this lot, which thingy, and basically no reply yet, if you know what I mean, sort of thing. And they hadn't before, so they basically weren't a block, because if the block, you get a reply that they can't deliver, so they're just probably ignoring. But the thing is, what you use it, because you've sent it, they're being served. That's the main issue. They're being served on all this lot sort of thing. So then do whatever they want, because basically next few days I'll probably be sending by courier to the High Court London sort of thing about my Navy case and that, with all the documents and all this lot, you know what I mean? Because I sent them to the new Defence Minister sort of thing, that Grant, what's his name, whatever it is, sort of thing. And all I got, you're not constituency of Welwyn Garden City, but I sent back to him, excuse me, I'm sending to you as the Defence Minister.
Yeah.
I goes, in your department, sort of thing, in the Ministry of Defence, either block or won't answer, because they know I've got you, sort of thing. So now you're the new Defence Minister, sort of thing, you're liable, and you're going to be held accountable for it, sort of thing. And all I want to do is let you know, make a decision. Are you going to settle out of court, or we go to court? That's all I want, sort of thing. So basically, I'm giving him a few days, and it's not going to happen. I've had it all before. So basically, I'll be sending, by basically registered post from Ukraine into the High Court with all the evidence and all this, like, you know what I mean? And after it, like, you know what I mean? Because that's one of the reasons I really started, was how I got treated in 1979 when I was serving on HMS Coventry, sort of thing. And I reported an officer, a lieutenant commander, for trying to blackmail the young ratings, and I was their divisional petty officer. And basically, what any problems in the Navy or even family life, civilian life, they come to me, and I either go to the, you know, divisional officer sort of thing, or anybody else sort of thing. Well, they kept coming, and we have to say to them, that it's your word against that officer, and you're going to lose. It's a taboo in the armed forces for basically, you know, non-commissioned personnel to try and report an officer. They will gang up on you and all this lot if you don't pull rank, whatever. But who's saying, so basically there's red lines. I know it's hard, because I know the officer is an homosexual. He was on my first ship as a midshipman. We used to run away from him or all this lot sort of thing, you know what I mean? Plus the more senior people, even the senior rates on HMS Palu, used to protect us, you know what I mean? Sort of thing, you know what I mean? Protect us from this. Well, he was a midshipman, which is 1 year on training, on probation, sort of thing. And part of the case is I was on gangway duty from midnight while 4 in the morning. And say about 12:30, he came staggering along this. Well, he was midshipman Harrison then, came staggering along. We saluted him as he came on. He spoke to us 10, 15 minutes, burbling to us. We're listening. Yeah, okay. So, you know. So then he went up to the bridge. Now, normally on the Pelu, we used to sit on inside the bridge looking down onto the gangway, nice and warm, sort of thing. But the officer of the day went, you to stand on the gangway down there. And we tried saying, but sir, if the telephone rings, we answer the telephone. It's up there, we won't hear it. Yeah, you know, typical officer. So that's why I was down the bridge. But we did notice him up on the bridge using the ship's telephone. Now, the thing is, officers are allowed to do it, if you know what I mean. We couldn't do it, you know what I mean. Anyway, it's going off.
Yeah.
Say a few minutes later, now we're on the first berth in Portsmouth Harbour as you go in, sort of thing, ready to go to sea in the morning. Suddenly, about four fire engines came screaming into the dockyard, and we're going, what's on fire? What's on fire? And we're looking around. You can see a lot of the other ships in the dockyard, or nothing there. Must be round the corner where they berthed. But the fire engines came and parked up alongside us and come, where's the fire? And we was going, what fire? You know me. So they had to get all the crew off the ship, mustered everybody, make sure the fire brigade searched all the ship and all this lot. And when there's no fire, so then they was going, who made the phone call? So me and this able seaman Osman, who was in charge of me, he was the quartermaster, I was his boatswain's mate, his runner. Went, well, it must have been one of you two. And I'm only, 16 and a half. What the fuck's this? You know what I mean? You know.
I'm just typing in as well.
Yeah. So what it ended up, Alan, was we both got technically arrested, taken off duty, and I got put right down into near the bilges, like, you know what I mean? I only had a blanket, no thingy. They had a sentry right up top, 2 floors, ladder straight up it is. You have a sentry. I don't know where A.B. Osmond would put, but I must admit, just after 8 o'clock in the morning, we were released, and then it was announced this midshipman Harrison admitted he thinks he made the phone call, right? Got no apology or anything or all this. And I
don't know if that's me or Charles's end. So just bear with us a minute, guys. If you can still hear me, guys, just say something in the chat. and let me know if you can hear me. It might be me, it might be Charles. But we've just had a little bit
I
of a
should have
break.
been took there and placed in there, protection sort of thing. But it didn't happen. But this is the Navy, patrol. The thing is, this officer, well, midshipman, to me, should have been thrown out the Navy. He's on probation. Now,
Yeah.
what do you want an officer doing that? And all he got was 28 days stoppage of wardroom privileges. Now, the wardroom is a massive luxury 5-star room where they dine. They have waiters, stewards, waiters serving on them and all this lot. So he had to eat his meals in his cabin. Wow, Dad. If it'd been me and Osmond, A.B. Osmond, we'd been put into the Navy detention quarter and probably kicked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it went a bit, he did say internet a bit wobbly. Anyway, so I knew the guy. So when I joined HMS Coventry in 78 as the ops room supervisor, I'm in charge of the war room and run it all and that. You know, there's another guy as well, same rate, but sort of thing. But I'm running it and that, if you know what I mean.
What was
Now,
your rank, Charles? Was it radio engineer, or do they call you?
No, I was a petty officer, radar, which is
so petty
part
officer
of the
radar. Does it have that symbol on it?
Yeah, well, he's like a cobweb.
yeah, that kind of radar that the goes round. Yeah,
it's like a cobweb, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, when I joined HMS Coventry and that sort of thing, up in Birkenhead, Liverpool, used to say it to Angie because she lives there and that. You know what I mean? There now, Midshipman Harrison is Lieutenant Commander Harrison.
Oh wow!
But I was talking nice, you know, this and another, but obviously he knew that I knew he's passed. Yeah. So I was, you know, a bit.
With everything that you've actually been through and actually done and actually seen, because you have seen so much. It's unbelievable what you've seen, not only in the world, but you've seen in different countries, different cultures, and so on and so forth. And like you say, the amount of times that you've written to MPs, judges, you name it, you amount of politicians, and 9 times out of 10 they don't answer you back. You don't get a reply from them. The amount of times that I got, you weren't my constituency, or in my constituency, blah blah blah. But yeah, I went through so much of that, and I must have written to every Labour MP, every Tory MP. I wrote to Lord Mayors, I wrote to directors, and you name it. And it's surprising how many people don't actually reply, and kind of it's like an uphill battle. That when you try and go up against these people, they give you the brick wall treatment and completely and utterly make it so very difficult for you to go any further. Now, when it comes back to yourself, I mean, yeah, I know you've been all over the world and you've ended up managed right into most of the people that have armed forces officers and services and so on associated with your case. But it affected your pension, did it not?
Yeah, I only get about a third of the pension sort of thing, like, you know what I mean? Sort of thing, because basically, how could you serve well, basically, I reported him, sort of thing, was off at Isle of Wight there at sea and all this lot, you know what I mean, doing certain stuff, like, you know what I mean, sort of thing. So about 9:30 in the captain's cabin there with the first lieutenant, he's second in charge of the warship, the divisional officer, the master at arms, which is the Navy policeman on board. He's a chief, one above me and that. And I just passed the message on because basically what the lads said was, 2 of them had come and seen me and said he's now trying to blackmail him, either go to his cabin for sex or meet him ashore or he'd destroy the career. And I went, well, that's the red line. I will now act, sort of thing, you know what I mean? But I'm in a dilemma myself. If I report him, will they come for me?
Yeah.
Or if I don't report him, thinking, nothing's going to happen, and something happens, and they went, we told Petty Officer Spencer, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm in, the catch 99 position. So, well, it's my duty. the people on HMS Pellew, you know, senior rates and that, were protecting us from him when he was a midshipman. I've got to do it, you know, and this is a red line. I just told him what the captain said, well done, Miss Petty Officer Spencer and all this stuff. Well, the rest of us are going to stay here. You can go now, sort of thing, you know, sort of thing. Say about half hour later, the captain gets onto the main broadcast. You hear there, this is Captain Burke speaking. Tomorrow morning, we're going to make an unannounced entry into Portsmouth Harbour. Breakfast will be at 7. We're entering at 7:30. Special sea dutymen at 7:30 and that. Now, special sea dutymen, people are on specific jobs. I'm on a radar display for watching all shipping, yachts, boats and that coming anywhere near us when we're in a narrow channel and that, if you know. Anyway, so I got up in the morning, everybody, a few other people are in the loop, like, you know, thinking Harrison's been dropped off. Fair enough. So I had my breakfast and I put my plates away, but at the door, as I'm leaving the dining room, was the master at arms and the petty officer in charge of the mess, sort of thing, went, come on, to your cab, to your mess deck, packing your kit, you're leaving. Pardon? Wow. Yeah. So we entered Portsmouth Harbour. They dropped me off. Boat came out to us, dropped me off at the pier for HMS Vernon, a shore base. And I had to carry all my kit about a mile to this shore base, and I was making, you know, right noise, but they were protecting him and all this lot, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. So I turned round and said to him, mate, here's me 18 months notice. How can you serve a country that does that for you? You're prepared to die for your country. Yeah. You're doing that. I'm doing my duty, what you pay me for and expect me to do on all this lot. You know what I mean? But they weren't really interested in this shore base. And then I got drafted to another ship and all this lot. You know what I mean? Wow. So about 18 months later, I left just before the Falklands War. You know what I mean? Oh, wow. So, yeah, it was a bit of a...
Did you ever go down there?
Not in the
South Pacific area, but did you go Ascension Island or somewhere like that? But
Ascension Island been to and all this lot, Cape Town, South Africa and all this lot. But I actually went to the Falkland Islands to build the air base, Mount Pleasant, Combined Army Air Base and that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. The airfield, huge airfield.
So I've been there. You know.
I'm just looking at the chat, and Spear put something in there. He's been around the world and found his baby. I don't know what he means by that. And then Roy's put around or across Spear, and what's happened to Lisa. I don't know what they relate to.
See what Roy's done.
Roy put, is it during the Napoleonic War?
Yeah, I know. That's why I went. Oh, dear. That's what the CA does, you see. It makes you look young centuries later.
Yeah. You listen. But it's a song now. Jackie's put, and I didn't even know that myself. So Jack's put in there about being a song. Yeah. But so you're doing your merchant or your not merchant navy, but your Royal Navy job duties in the Royal Navy, and you've been all over the place. You've been to various different countries, shore leave, and so on and so forth. How did it go about it? How did it go about that? Because I remember the story about something happened with you going to Ukraine in the very, very first place. I think it was Icy or Sippy or something like that. And some guy, did you go there and some guy robbed you or something? Was you robbed or bashed over the head, or did you slip on the ice and crack the snow or something like that? I remember a story, something like that, where a woman came to your aid.
Yeah.
You had an accident, and I think you were bleeding or something, wasn't you, from a head wound?
Yeah, it's there, the scar.
Tell us a little bit about it, and that's how you came to meet your missus, wasn't
it? Well, basically, I was sort of going to Ukraine. I was working in Birmingham there on a job and that, and this guy, we used to work with, I was working on this job with him and that, what I mean? He's getting married to a Ukraine woman and that and going out, for his wedding and that sort of thing. And then was talking and that, why don't you come, to the wedding? And, oh, yeah. So, booked the tickets and that, if you know what I mean. So then we went to a place called Dnipropetrovsk. It's called Dnieper now, sort of thing. And they got married, but also we went with them, the couple, to Yalta, Crimea hotel, sort of thing. Because, a couple of other people were going with them, that, but they were doing their thing, and we was, our things, like, you know what I mean? So they used to meet him for, you might see him for breakfast or the evening meal, and the drinks and that, you know what I mean? But during the day, they used to do their thing, and we went off.
Was that in the days when Crimea was still part of Ukraine, basically?
Yeah.
And before the Russians invaded it and took Crimea, and the invasion started going further inland towards more inland to Ukraine. But for a long, long time, it was sovereignty land of the Ukrainians, wasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, on one of I think it was the third time I went there, Yalta, on holiday and all this lot with a couple of friends, met this woman called Natasha and all this lot. She lived in a place called Galuka, about 18 miles northeast of Donetsk and all this lot. So then went meeting her and all this lot, sort of thing. And because it's so cheap there and all this lot, then I found out about the house, prices of house and land there, so cheap. Now, basically, we bought, because I was going out with her and that, you know what I mean? And I thought, retirement place when I, retire and that. And we bought 110 meters by 100 meters land, and it had a shell up to the first floor of an house, sort of thing. I think it'd been stripped, sort of thing. But that only cost about £3,000.
Wow.
So, £3,000, all that land and all this lot. So basically then I was, having it built up and that, a 5-bedroomed house sort of thing on the, adding to the shell and that, if you know what I mean, building it up and all this lot. Then something happened, and friend from there wrote and told me she's trying to sell the house. Well, the thing is, in Ukraine, as a foreigner, you can't own an house or land. You can in one sense, but generally you can't, sort of thing. But my name should have been on the deeds, because we was going for another place, but we decided not to, and my name would have been on the deeds. So I said, go ahead with my name on the deeds and that, but she didn't. So ends up she's technically trying to steal the house, or
Who's trying to steal the house?
The girl I was going out with.
Oh, somebody that you. Oh, okay. Oh, this is before Natasha came along.
Yeah, this Natasha. This is another Natasha.
Oh, you got me confused.com there.
No, sorry.
No.
That's another Natasha. I only go out with Natashas, so if I say wrong name in my sleep,
because I was just thinking, where's he going with this? Because at the end of the day, I think he was going out with Natasha, and then you were cracked over the head, and you'd fallen on the ground, and this woman came to your aid, and then you got a number in the hospital. And then she said, no, you're in my country, I'll look after you, blah, 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 blah. And that's how you came to meet your Natasha now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, basically what it was, in fact, he was one of the separatists who took over this city of Galuka and Donetsk, lived next door, 3 brothers and that, with a dad. Dad was brilliant, you know what I mean? Sort of thing. Now, I went to see the house and to view it, why, on all this lot, sort of thing. Now, I had a meal with the separatist family next door, the Russians, you know what I mean, sort of thing, meal and that. And now one of them turned around and said, come on, I'll take you to see your solicitor. He's moved office. I went, yeah, plus your hotel. Because it was winter sort of thing, we having to go up a slope, walking up long road sort of thing. Yeah. Now, next thing I knew, I had a woolly hat on and my big heavy coat and that, if you know what I mean. Next thing I knew was, Charles, wake up. And I started to lift my head when I realised there's all blood in the snow and that, below me, all this. But at the same time, I heard an English voice, another voice say, "What's going off here? What's going off here?" And I looked, and the guy came round the corner. Now, I think this was the same guy I was looking in the garden, as we was walking by. I
Yeah.
don't know. But, there is a godfather, guardian angel looking after you, because if probably weren't him, sort of thing. Because, anyway, the guy I was with said I slipped on the ice and banged
Right.
my head. But I
Yeah.
don't know, and I'm thinking. Then a 4x4 were coming up the hill. He stopped and he took me about 150 yards round the corner, if you know what I mean, to the hospital. And they had a look, and I had a big bandage round my head and all this lot. And he said, "I want to see you tomorrow," this guy. Okay, then, 10 o'clock, whatever it was. So I booked into the hotel, went and saw the solicitor, got a taxi and found him. And that. Anyway, next day I went to the hospital and they told me to go up to something like the 8th floor into the doctor's rest room and that. And there's about 10 there. And this one who announced he was a surgeon, so he stitched my head up. What happened? I went, going up the hill, and I slipped and banged my head, and he's going daft at me. "Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm stupid? You've
Yeah.
not banged your head, slip, or all this lot. Tell me the truth." I said, "I don't know," and I don't know. But I can second guess. I
You was
guess
just
that's what I got told. I mean, I couldn't see that, I got a cut there.
guy who potentially, let's hypothetically say, yeah, okay, it was ice, it was slippery, you could have gone and accidentally slipped. But hypothetically, let's just say the guy that the property that you were looking at was trying to make a claim on the property. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah,
there was a dirty deed going on here, and he might have given you a whack over the head
yeah,
and tried to make a claim on that property. Am I on the right kind of wavelength there?
yeah. Well, what it was, it kept going on, and then I had to see the police and that. Oh, so how I got Natasha? Natasha lived 300 kilometres away. He wanted this doctor, somebody to speak to,
That's a lot away.
local.
That's
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, go on.
yeah. He wanted to speak to somebody local. He goes, "Because I fear you'll be attacked again."
Okay, yeah.
So he goes, "Give me." So I got my phone out. I went, "There, Natasha. This is the girl, you see."
Is this
So,
Natasha 1 or Natasha 2?
well, I thought it were one. Natasha
No.
2 is the wife now. But he
Yeah.
went, dink, whatever. He rung Natasha 2, who answered the phone. I went, oh. She slightly knew me. I had one phone call with her once in my time. I met her on the Russian Facebook, if that. I spoke once to her and that, if you know, on the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he went that, well, he's thinking, I need somebody to look after him. She goes, "Oh, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Wow.
About 30, no, yeah, well, about 30 minutes later, the doctor, "Where are you? Where is she?" I was, "I don't know." You spoke to her in Russian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So he re-phoned and she went, "Where are you speaking from?" He went, "Galuka." She goes, "I'm in Killerad, 300 kilometers away." Oh. She goes, what's the real problem? And she said, "I've been attacked or all this lot and need somebody to look after me," sort of thing, in case I get attacked again or something, you know what I mean? She went, "Well, put him on a train to me and I'll look after him." And he
Wow.
said about 3 days later, when I had the stitches out. Now, I had the stitches out 3 days later, and I was going to go up to Killerad on the train, sleeper train. But we're down in the chemist in the hospital, and suddenly it flashed to me, wait one, when we was leaving the house, I had my coat on all the time. I saw him putting this like a slack button down his jacket. Never thought out of it. Now I've seen pictures of it. It's a button, riot button.
Wow.
So obviously he was behind me. I had a woolly hat on. But like I say, that was about 3 days later, because I say, I don't know, I was knocked out, you know what I mean? Now,
But didn't Natasha turn around and say to you, I think on the lines of like, "No, you're a guest in my country. I look
yeah,
after you," type of thing, like I'm trying to kind of.
yeah. Well, what she said, But what she said is to the policeman, and when I doctor, and when I spoke with her, you know what I mean, she went, "You're a visitor in my country, and that you're being attacked. So I'll look after you." Is thinking. She used to put me on the train, the sleeper train, because I had to keep going back to Galuka for the court case, because I couldn't claim the house, but I could claim for the money on all this, because it was obviously my money that used, and I had all the things. So I was having to go into Galuka train, 11 and a half hours on the train, like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Sleeper trains with the
slog. You've done some travelling, because when you think of what you've actually done over the years, not only with your first experience of trying to buy this house and some guy trying to steal it from you for one means or another, or putting a claim on it, and trying to do you an injustice by battering you across the bleeding head, and making it out as if you probably slipped on the ice. And then you getting to know your wife that you know now. But in between the travelling that you did then, backwards and forwards, and since you've been you was in Donny for quite a while, and then because you was waiting for visas, you had you got all your documents and all your papers and your epistle. Is it epistle?
Apostle.
Apostle.
Yeah, apostle epistle down the sea.
It's it's a really kind of like unique form of paperwork. It's all legitimate. And it's almost got like a tie on it. It's I've seen the episcopal or whatever it is paperwork which you've done officially in Ukraine. It's almost like a wax seal kind of thing, but it's done in a bow. It's quite unique in itself, but it's an official paperwork. Now you had to wait. What is it? I think it was 2 years. Was it a total of 2 years before you could actually gain the status that you've got now, where you're home with your wife? Now, you've been, what, how long have you been back now? 6 months?
No, 19th of October I left.
October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, it's about 6 months. 6 months.
Getting there, yeah.
So, I mean, is it been an easy transition, sort of like, I know the majority of people speak Russian. I don't know how common English language is there. It must be different for you because it's not your native tongue. How you managed to cope and handle things? I mean, is it hard for you when you go into a shop or if you go to the shop and buy it, or are you with Natasha every time you go out, normally to the shops, or are you starting to pick up some of the words or some of the? I mean, something you said something about the other day, running a bath or something. You picked up the word whatever, douche or whatever it is, yeah. And when you do your own show with Delwell on a Tuesday night, you always use a phrase to close the show up. So
Astrovia.
So you teach them a little bit, but at the end of the day, how are you finding? I mean, it's still completely an all new world to you because, I mean, you've given up your own country to go into a potentially foreign country to live. Okay, you've got your wife and you've been together a little while now, a few years now, and it's all legally binding, but you've got to not worry about no visas or anything else now, have you?
Well, my temporary residency order is while the 8th of April. Nearly 2 weeks ago, I had a big interview where I get questioned about the wife, then I go out and she gets questioned about me, sort of thing, you know what I mean? But
is there an issue with the language barrier?
How can I say? Well, basically, the woman conducting the interview obviously had a translator, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. the question I got asked was, do I speak Russian and English, Russian, Ukraine, sort of thing? I goes, I know certain words of Russian, sort of thing, and I can speak certain things. I can follow some conversations and all this lot. I goes, but I'll never be able to. Right, Natasha going for a smoke on the thing. I'll never be able to speak Ukraine because that's a right tongue twister. Now, I'm in a Russian, it's called Kilarad. Ukraine, it's Kropenvervisky or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I got no chance.
I mean, the only reason why I'm asking, Charles,
Yeah,
I mean, Roy's putting this like Mr. and Mrs. quiz show.
yeah,
You know, at the end of the day, I'm just basically the first time you normally come onto shows as a guest, and you do your own show and so on and so forth. It was my chance to let people know a little bit more about you, how it all came about, and what brought you to, like the Ukraine in the first place, and how you met your wife and all that. So we've established all that. Now, like you said, you had to know some of the laws that you knew when you was in the forces, as the role that you played, because a lot of jobs they do have a element of law to them. So, you know, years ago, the police were taught common law, and they used common law under murder. Under murder, you did under common law murder such and such a person. You can use common law as an assault. Under common law, you assaulted such and such a person. They do use it in terminology and acts and statutes even to this very day. And the fire brigade also use common law. It used to be to save a person's life. No harm, no loss, no injury. Kick the door in. The door went in, and they went in to save a life. So no harm, no loss, no injury. But the door went in more so than probably what the police did. In actual fact, there was a video done with the police the other day where they done exactly that the other day, which was a good thing to see rather than all the bad stuff we've seen about them. So how did that get you involved in the common law stuff? Then was you still working on your case when you came back to Donny, or was you still sort of like going up against the Ministry of Defence or whatever?
Well, in 1979, I was on leave from the Navy, Easter time, in Tamworth, with the wife where we used to live out. And I was mowing my lawn, and these 10-year-old kids, well, I used to call them the twins next door, even though there's 9 months in difference between them, but they look like twins, identical twins, but there's 9 months. Well, one of their friends further down the road, arguing with them, threw a big rock like this straight into me passenger door and put a right dent in it, and it was metallic. Wow. Me car.
Yeah.
So I went round to the house 3 or 4 doors away. Mother answered the door. "Excuse me, your son's just damaged my car," on all this. Put a right dent in, and the paintwork on all this stuff. So I'm going to ask you, are you going to pay for it to be repaired, or do you want me to involve the police? So she was, "You're the only kid on this street," this and that. These were the most expensive houses in Tamworth at the time. I pardon. Okay, sort of thing. So about 2 hours later, sort of thing, I hadn't done out. 2 hours later, heavy banging at my door. Oh God, it'll be the father. I was in shorts and flip-flops, sort of thing, because it's hot. So I answer the door, and this guy's a big tall guy. "What's this?" So I thought, right, defuse it. I went, "Can you go down?" And my car was about 6-7 yards down the driveway, So I went, "Can you go down and have a look at the front passenger door, see what damage your son done, and come back on all this?" I thought, so he turned and starts going, and I went to shut the door, and I honestly, even today, thought it's on the lock. I'd done it, but suddenly I went flying backwards into the air and landed 3 or 4 yards back on my back and banging my head and going in my hallway. Oh! Then suddenly he's on top of me, and he was punneling 30, 40 punches, and I'm just, fucking hell. So I knew if I don't think it, I'm going to be dead here. He's crazy, this guy.
Yeah, that amount of punches, wow.
Yeah, well, basically what it is, when you're doing like that, it becomes second wind because you got... Yeah. That's when I struck, started fighting back and all that. And I managed to get out, get up, overpowering him and all that. Get out of my house and that. And he's still struggling. I goes, "I'll hurt you." Yeah. And he's still struggling. So I went, bang, what I mean? "Oh, I give up." I go on. As soon as I'm releasing him, he's attacking me again. So I'm grappling him. And eventually I got him out. He's about 6 or 7 times out of my house and all this lot, what I mean? So I had to punch him and that, you know what I mean? All I wanted to do was get him out the house and shoot that door. Anyway, half hour later, knock at the door, police, and I was arrested and charged. Ended up being charged and all this lot. And we ended up in Tamworth Magistrates Court.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, this is what really started me off, sort of thing, because the police, CPS, said to the magistrate, a woman with little door-mount glasses on,
Yeah.
they went, he's a petty officer in the Royal Navy. He's unarmed combat trained and he's used it on a civilian. And I go, huh? I'm not unarmed combat trained or out. But lucky there's a lieutenant commander from Birmingham recruiting office to give a character reference, like, you know what I mean? And he got eventually called and he refuted it, saying no, he's a petty officer radar, seamanship branch and all this lot. The only unarmed combat people in the Royal Navy, the Royal Marines, and that is true. Now, this is where, to me, magistrates are corrupt. When she heard that, why didn't she throw the case out?
Yeah.
Exactly, because they got proved to be lying. And that really hurt me more than the punches I received. I got hurt. You know what I mean? Because we're led to believe the police, the CPS, will never lie in a court of law. Well, I fucking saw it and all.
That's been partial.
Yeah. So anyway, she turned round when she summed up, when we had dinner and went back. She went, "Dear Mr. Spencer, you were subject to a vicious attack on all this lot, in your home and that, but there's too much thuggery in Tamworth and all this lot. I'm fining your £100 fine and £80 cost." So, pardon. I went, "I'm going to get you out of that place, my dear. I'm going to get crazy." Sort of thing. I goes, I went, "I'm appealing." She went, to my solicitor, "Can you, I told you I'm appealing. What don't you understand?" And I walked out. We ended up going to Stafford Crown Court. And I must admit, when I saw the judge, fucking hell, he looks right. You know what I mean? Sort of thing. The whole story got told again, sort of thing. We went to dinner, come back, if you know what I mean. And he must have sat there for a good 10 minutes, and I'm in the dock there just outside of him. And he just suddenly turned around in a soft voice and goes, "Dear Mr. Spencer, you've been subject to a vicious attack in your home and procedures against you, all unlawful, this and another. And I hope you and your wife will be able to put this behind you and all this lot." And he's speaking nicely to me like that. And then when he finished, and this is true, he's like that, suddenly turned facing the guy who attacked me, called Fletcher, and he screamed, "You, Mr. Fletcher, should have been brought in front of me for that attack on Mr. Spencer, and I would send you to prison for a long time," on all this lot. And then I learnt something else. He then spoke about 20 minutes in Latin. And I'm going, what? I knew it was Latin, but I didn't have a clue really what he's on about. Later, my barrister told me the law is made in Latin, and that's what he's explaining, the law. He goes, and they just got the biggest bollocking ever in a court of law, and I'm telling you, Mr. Spencer, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I won the appeal, sort of thing. Then nearly 20 years later, the police issued the squash convictions, sort of thing. There's two, there's live convictions.
Wow.
In the daughter's child custody case, and then also the second wife, due to be second wife, was a foster carer, and I signed all the forms for fostering, no police record, the lot. Yeah. Truthfully, like, you know what I mean?
I just noticed Roy's put in the chat, when charged, you say you are charged under common law. Yeah, they use the common law charge when they do say the likes of you did murder somebody and you are charged. Yeah. So Roy, you've been watching Charles and Delroy and T. King too much. So I was just looking at the chat and seeing Roy putting in the chat where when you're charged, they say you are charged under common law.
Yeah. Well, here, folks, is a thingy. This is through the case SE2 2355, no, 2500, 300, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Basically, third,
whatever case number. Yeah.
second defendant, Tony Blair, Jack Straw, and that for issuing the squash convictions, because in a Crown Court, when it's made that, it's a case law, lawful precedent in law.
Yeah.
And
No,
and the judge turned around and said to me quietly, the squash convictions will be removed from police records. But there wasn't. They issued them. And then you get it's a mistake. No. The law, they're required to remove them within 28 days and all this lot. And here's a court case. And the judge, if you see, my name's in capital letters.
Yeah.
The court case, I put in small case, and that. And this is what the thing is. This is what I've been fighting on that after these corrupt things, and they are institutionally corrupt.
That stands out in you that when you saw your name in uppercase, or did the whole thing turn around and say to you, I want to learn what I've learned. And because your common law is very, very good, because I've seen you master it, and the way you spoke to that judge in the court, it's a shame that we couldn't have filmed that, because you actually stood there like a professional barrister. And I was very proud to be in your company that day. You was really, really good. And I thought you was just as good in the family courts when we went to the family courts in Holborn with Leanne that time. But the judges of the court did not want to know at all. They wouldn't even let you go into court with her. It was like a kangaroo court. And I think because she was running late or whatever the case was, they threw the case out. Or they didn't throw the case out. I think they held her in contempt of court because she wasn't there or something like that. Or a rehearing or something like that. And trying to throw the book at her.
Yeah. So with these things and all, this court case and the other thing, my Navy, and that's when I've been, right, I'm coming for you lot. You know what I mean? You're just institutionally corrupt. Now, I first met you at Rampton for,
You did?
Yeah, when you did your first speech and all this.
Yeah, that was my very, very first time speaking. I don't know how it came about. I was on Facebook at the time doing bits and pieces. And I was active doing stuff with John Wedger, Sue Peak, and we used to do a regular meeting outside Parliament. Every first Wednesday of the month, we used to go outside Parliament as beach home survivors. And I was doing it one day, and Tommy Robinson went past, and I didn't know him at the time. It was Tommy Robinson, and I thought, wow, he's smaller than you actually think in real life. And I saw this little guy go by, and I thought, that looks like somebody I know or seen before, or it looks like TR or whatever. And because I knew a little bit about the EDL and so on, supporting this Defence League and so on and so forth, but I weren't such a follower of him. But it's through what we've done and ended up later on trying to get a big demonstration. What we tried to do, we tried to get all the organisations together. And I was friends with Glenn Saffer. And Glenn Saffer was security for Tommy at one stage. And we were getting all sorts of problems trying to get a permit to do this demonstration in Parliament Square, because Parliament Square belongs to somebody else, administration of somewhere else, and not Westminster and so on and so forth. And it was like, where they just move the jurisdiction to somewhere else, make it as difficult as they can for you. But in the end, I got Glenn to turn around and say, Tommy Robinson's having a demonstration in London. All the organisations like the Sikhs, the child groups, all of them, everyone that we could think of that we knew at the time, were coming together for this massive demonstration. And a lot of the campaigners had put their hand on their heart and said they would join us in this demonstration. And because we got Tommy on board, they turned around and said, yeah, well, we closed half of Whitehall, so you can demonstrate from Trafalgar Square down to Whitehall and speak outside Downing Street. And then COVID came in 2019, and it never came about because they asked us to cancel it. And John turned around and said, oh, I've had the commissioner on the line, blah, 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 because of the restrictions they're going to put on COVID, so on and so forth, and the potential, eventual lockdown that we got, it was called off. And I was looking forward to that, because that would have been the peak of a lot of good work that we've done over the years. And then I went to, as I say, a part of what I did was went to Rampton, and then I made my speech there, and Glenn was on the PA then. But I've done a bit of work with Glenn since I've been in Norwich and done something over there with him since that time as well. But I think it's what I've done is a lot of people that have supported me over the years. I thought if I go to the areas that they've gone to, because they've come to support in different areas, a rally that either I've been associated or the children's campaigners have been associated, I thought it only fair that I reciprocate and go to their areas and support them. And that's how it kind of spread something. And like when we were in Doncaster, we actually filmed with Ken, filmed done an interview. Ken done an interview with me and put it all on film. And you and Delroy both had complete all my case records and all my files of being in children home, and you read through them a long time before we actually got to this stage, because we had to get to know, and you helped me quite a lot with my case. I've still got 5 bundles of paper that you've done in ribbons. Do you remember you done them in ribbons? And I've still got to this very, very day, I've still got them. I have got a woman that is very, very good, and she is going to help me. And she said, I must help you when I get round to Alan. But she is so busy doing so much other things. And she keeps saying to me, we will get to it one day, Alan. So I'm not giving up completely. I'm not giving the hope on it. I want to try one day, trying to get it into court. But the world's just gone sort of like topsy-turvy since, if the world wasn't in a mess before we actually got to 2019, and politicians weren't the way they were when we've seen the likes of Blair, Liz Truss, Theresa May, and Christ knows what, and Tony Blair and Boris Johnson, Cameron, Maggie Thatcher's, the Ted Heaths, you name them, the politicians and the paedophile Westminster ring, and what goes on with Dolphin, or have gone on in Dolphin Square and the Elms Guest House, the whole story kind of knitted together. And then me, who did cab in London and knew certain areas, knew these dodgy areas. Then when I met John, and John started talking about these places, and I thought, I know all these places that you're talking about. I didn't know of them then. And I wondered why sometimes when, as a cab driver, that if you drove into sort of like Dolphin Square, why you was just let in instead of stopped at the barrier to find out what you were doing. So the methods to allowing it to happen in the first place were because of who they were, not what they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how we first met. And then, as I say, we became friends from then, and stayed in touch with each other, and done quite a lot together actually.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like I say, because I been badly treated myself and that, I'm after them and all this lot, you know what I mean, sort of thing. Now, but what it is, I used to watch UK Column, and then they used to be mentioning Melanie Shaw, and then there was mentioning on the UK Column that Melanie Shaw on this particular day, which was a couple of days ahead, sort of thing, was going to face, the final. It's called.
I don't think of his name. He was with Kay, wasn't he? That Kay. Well, I'm trying to think of his name. What's his name? He used to do UK Column.
Yeah.
Film of Sound.
Yeah. Well, what it was to be, conclusion means the sentencing, down the final thing in the sentencing in a secret court, because he used to always say it's secret court. Public's not allowed. She's not allowed into the court as well because she's in prison, style prison and all that stuff. Well, on the night before the conclusion, I think it's 6 pages I wrote and all this lot. Now, a friend called Andrew, sub-proculator sort of thing, contacted me. He was going to go the next day, so he picked me up. We went to Leeds, not far from where I lived in Doncaster. So I went to the court office with this 6 pages sort of thing. I gave it, manager, please. Oh, no. I guess the manager, please. I got some court documents for her. Only she can, get. So anyway, she came and all. I goes, here, I love them through the little gap she gave them. When she picked them up, I guess the court's now served and all sorts. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not trained. I guess, all right, love, you served the court. I guess, if you have a look, and she's looking, I'll go and give them top legal guy that. I goes, oh yeah, it's okay, love. And what it was a common law writ against the Leeds court for holding an unlawful court against Melanie Shaw and all this lot, because it goes against the, Human Rights Act and all this lot, you know what I mean? Sort of thing, conclusions and all this lot, where the public should be held, sort of thing. Anyway,
Right, Gary.
yeah, I've just seen it myself. So anyway, everywhere, I mean, she had a lot of supporters and all, throughout all the, you can look on the courts, go onto the websites and see whatever's court number 10 at Leeds or Nottingham, whatever. You read what's on the board, the case and what the case is about. Now, a lot of people were watching it and looking throughout the country for Melanie's supporters and seeing Melanie Shaw, conclusion, no public allowed, you know what I mean? And suddenly it all went off. Now, I'd gone with Andrew outside because everybody had gone outside again, stood there having cigarettes, you know what I mean? Somebody, waiting for somebody to call us, if they knew how. But then the talk was, what's happened? Is it finished? Has she been done? The boards have been wiped clear, sort of thing. So nearly an hour later, sort of thing, somebody mentioned, "Oi, it's all up. Melanie Shaw mention is legal argument. And the public is allowed in." So anyway, we went in and he was arguing about they wanted 2 out of 3 psychiatrist reports and that. And the next hearing was to be 3 days later, like, you know what I mean? So people were going, how did that come about and all this? And my mate Andrew went because he put a common law writ against them and all this lot. And they couldn't do out. So you're telling me a big court building, something which Leeds is, all the super people suddenly changed their minds because of the common law writ I put in. Plus it was the Human Rights Act, the UN's Universal Charter of Human Rights, and the EU Fundamental Charter of Human Rights and all this lot, came under that as well as common law, because basically they knew they'd be writing the shit. Anyway, 3 days later, we went to the next court hearing. We're waiting outside the courtroom there, sort of thing, talking. Suddenly the door opened and a woman in the black gowns and that came, didn't have the wig on her own. She went, "Hello, is Mr. Spencer here, please? Mr. Spencer." I goes, "Yeah, it's me." She went, "Oh, I'm the clerk of the court." Or all this lot. Just to telling you that your common law writ is now part of the court case and all. So all sides have got it and all this lot, you know what I mean? And we'll be proceeding in about 15 minutes' time, everybody. And she disappeared. So then people going, "What's that about that?" Goes, "Wait one. Do you know who she was?" And they was going, "No," because that's the clerk of the court. "Do you know her job?" And they was going, "No." I goes, "Who do you think's in charge of the court?" "The judge, the judge." I goes, No, it's the clerk of the court. That's the legal person or, the lawful person who knows the law and all this, not the judge.
Down.
Yeah. I goes, "She's come to see who fucked the system up."
Wow. I knew you was involved with it a long time ago. And I don't know if you're still out in Ukraine. Do you still use social media or not now? Do you not use it now?
Yeah, I go on.
Because not everybody knows. I'm not going to say it because I don't think you want everybody to know anyway, that you've got a pseudonym name on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And you still have your picture of Melanie Shaw to this very, very day. It's never, ever changed in all the time that I've known you. You've always kept the same profile picture, and it's all of our Melanie. And it's always been your profile picture from day dot. But you use a different name for that person on Facebook. So not everybody knows that who the person is with the Melanie Shaw thing, who you're shooting. I won't give it away. So at the end of the day, because you just don't want everybody just going banging on there and saying, "Oh, I didn't know that was Charles." So anyway, and I said to you, blah blah blah. When we first started going around, when we started talking about it, and you told me about you being involved with Melanie from the outset, from the very, very, very beginning, and that you'd met her, and you'd spoken to her, and what that poor woman, and I suppose in some respects, still goes through this very, very day where she's restricted on what she can say, what she can't do. And she's basically, I know we're all controlled in one way or another, you know, and the powers that be don't allow us to have the freedoms that we think we've got. It's all controlled. And it's media controlled, it's camera controlled, it's AI controlled. The whole being of us is completely and utterly controlled now. This is controlled in some respects, because if I go to post it on social media, they don't like it because they don't want to lose their license. They will comply with whatever the powers that be will want. But it was actually, we've gone over our time by about 5 minutes. Thank you, Charles, for coming on tonight. I don't want to beat Jay off. Thank you to every single one of you in the chat. We've had Roy in there, put some brilliant comments in. Thank you, Jackie, for coming in with us. Spear's been in there. Sonia was in there. Annette was in there earlier on. So thank you, everybody. There was 7 of you, I think, or participants actually in the chat. And a huge thank you to you. You are part of the show. And I do try to engage with you and look over every now and then and try to listen like I tried to listen to Charles. A lot of the story that I've heard before, some of it I haven't, it was new tonight. But it gives people a better insight into who this man, Charles Earnest Spencer, is and how it all came about and how his knowledge progressed. So, again, thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you so, so much, Charles, for being my guest tonight. I look forward to watching you on Delroy's show next Tuesday. So tomorrow night we've got David Witcher on the live line. 9 o'clock show. Dave and Mike here on at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. And then on Friday night we've got our lovely Jackie who's been in with us tonight, and she has her show, Laugh and Laughter, whatever it is, with Jackie Lowry, and she's on a Friday night. So join Jackie on Friday and David. We'll see you next week with hopefully another guest. And Delroy's on his show with Charles every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Don't miss that one because it's always a fascinating show and a brilliant content show. And you bring so much to it. And you just rub off each other so well, Charles. And Delroy and yourself have become really good friends with me. We've met in person. We've been out together. I offended Delroy one day because he never puts any crap inside his body, and he's very, very, very tidy and particular in what he eats and what he puts in his body. He's very, very strict. And one day when we was in Leeds, we was doing something. I can't remember what he was doing. Or did I take him back to Leeds from yours when we was at yours? I went back to Leeds.
No, you took him back.
And I said, I've got to get something to eat. I'm absolutely hanging my arm. I'm starving. And I said, he said, well, you get what you want. And I said, well, I'll get Kentucky. And I said, I'll eat it in my car outside your house. I'm not going to offend you because I know you're a healthy eater. I'm not going to eat that shit in front of you in your house. And he said, no, come in. You can. And I said, no, because you're going to stink your house out and all that. And he allowed me to sit in his house eating this Kentucky. I was so embarrassed that this guy that is so strict with his own body was allowing me to kind of like take the mickey out of him and do what I did. And I've always loved and respected Delroy from the very, very day that I met him. And me and you have always been really good friends. And that's why I was honoured by you coming on tonight. And I thought it only just right to get you on to try and get people to listen to a little bit of your story. They know parts of your story, but they've never heard it like this before. So, again, thank you very much, Charles.
Yeah. I just want to say a thing. You mentioned his name last night when I was mentioning the Richard Vogue's video sort of thing. They took me in the night, Dean of Buxton. You know, yeah. Anyway, what I tried to say, and I've copied it now, before he was entered the court sort of thing, he stood at the door looking at the judge, and he used to say, I, man, enter this room under common law with all my God-given inalienable rights intact. Do we have an agreement? Now, the magistrates used to take him down, because they know the thingy. But eventually, he went to the Crown Court. He got his way. Crown Court, he did it again. And the judge, straight as soon as he said it, the judge said, what do you want? And he turned round and Dean said, I want a trial by jury. And the judge said, enter, please enter. And he went inside. And he went,
Wow.
I enter because of our agreement. And that's what he does, that Dean, and that was a good
Wow.
thing. So
But
he's
it's
not
weird.
giving his name.
Sophie's just put in the chat. Well, when we was talking about Dell, she says Dell is
Yeah.
awesome, and I can totally agree with that. Um, uh, and some good stuff about you as well. And
Yeah.
she's even watched that today, Charles.
Yeah. I've just seen it and that, you know what I mean? Couple of quick other things. Another thing he says, I am born free. I reserve all my rights and I give none away. You need my consent, which is true. So
Yep.
without your consent, they can't do anything. Also, he mentions, I want a common law trial by a jury, not a commercial law jury trial. It's commercial money. And another thing is administrating courts where there is no harm. House-free law of England, and every court has a copy. So there's no victim in the courts, magistrates' courts mainly, sort of thing. What was the other thing? But
But we use the three C's, don't we? We use the three C's
yeah,
ourselves. We use no comment, no contract, and no consent. So we use them quite often ourselves because consent's very important. Because without it, they're completely knackered. And I sometimes been dealing with some things that have happened with me just recently. I've been going all over the country. I've been a naughty boy, and I've got a couple of fines in it, and I've appealed a few of them, so on and so forth. And I've got one person when they turned around and said, "This is recorded." I said, "As long as you send me a copy of it as a data handler, because you've got my data, and I'd like a copy of it." And he was actually stumped by me actually saying that because he said, "We don't normally get asked that question." I said, "Well, you're a data handler. You're recording me speaking to you, so I'm on key and you're on key. I have got exactly what you're saying to me, a record."
yeah, sort of thing. Now, the other main thing he did say, they're after your consent. 1, by your actions. 2, by your inactions. 3, by your speech. 4, by your silence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why you don't consent to them and all this lot, you know what I mean? So they don't get jurisdiction over them. And that's what he's doing by saying, I, man, enter this room under common law with all my God-given inalienable rights intact. Do we have an agreement? He's not going
Sounds
under
like
the...
Scarecrow. What's his name? It sounds like what do they call him? The other guy that's really really good on. He used to come and wake up. Strong. What's his name?
Yeah. Oh,
Strong something.
yeah.
Strong Angel or something.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? Strong Angel, nobody.
He's like that. He's brilliant. Well, the first time I heard him, I was going, wow, I was in awe. And every time I've heard him speak when he's been on it, it's a shame he's not on a bit more often because he's a brilliant man. He's a very, very clever man. He was trying to do stuff himself. He was always the thinker outside the box. Roy's put genius, so he's obviously referring to what you've been talking about. I have to end the show, guys, and say thank you to everybody getting in the chat. Thank you, Charles, for joining me tonight. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you very much, everybody. And I must end the stream. Thank you, guys.
Catch you later. See you later. Bye, everyone. Are you ending it, Alan?